Diljan, our registered migration agent is with us, and we will talk about social work. As an education counselor, I'll take care of the part of education. I'll let you know what is the admission criteria, what is the English criteria and fee structure, and our registered migration. Diljan will talk about the PR pathway and skill assessment. Uh, yes, Diljan, you can start.
All right, welcome our friends to our show, the Aussizz launch, which we do every Thursday, and every week we speak on different sort of topics, and we choose different sort of courses, which helps you to get PR in Australia. So there are various pathways, and it's better that if you have knowledge of all the pathways, it'd be easier for you to decide, which one suits your pathway. And today we are talking about social work, which is a very, very good occupation. Like whenever we talk about getting PR, or when you're talking about people having less points, or they are like want to get the PR as quickly as possible, there are various options. But this one, like a nursing occupation, social work is also a very good occupation. And the main advantage of this is big, not only that it is in demand, and people are getting invited at low points, but again there is no experience required, for the assessment, which is a big plus factor. So before we move on to the PR pathways, we just talk about the basic requirements, how you want to start the process by itself. So to ask all these questions regarding the admission and the requirements, for getting the admission, we would just ask a few questions to Bushra, and she will clarify, and then obviously it will make it easier for you to decide which one is best suited for you. So all right, Bushra, so when we're talking about social work, so I would say, can you just let the audience know what are the minimum requirements and what sort of a level of study do they enroll into?
Okay. So first thing, if international student coming from offshore, if they have their 10th and 12th standard completed, then they will go for Bachelor of Social Work. And if someone is already qualified for Bachelor of Social Work and then they come here and do their masters, then they can go for Masters of Social Work. The entry requirements for Bachelor is a bit simpler. It's just the English requirement you need. You do not need to meet any cognate background like a prerequisite, and you have to have a 6.5 overall in IELTS. Few of the providers actually ask for 6.5 in each band. However, you can go ahead with 6.5 overall and 6 each band, no less than 6. That's for Bachelor of Social Work. And coming to Masters of Social Work, the entry requirement is a little bit higher because you have to meet the cognate background in that case, which means you have to have a background previously which you have studied in your bachelor. It can be counseling, it can be nursing, allied health, or social science itself, like a Bachelor of Social Science.
Okay.
They are also eligible to apply. But the English requirement is very high on that. It's
Yep,
7
seven.
each, yes.
Yep,
Or
absolutely.
PT you can take as well. That would be
Okay.
65 each. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so like we were talking about the IELTS, obviously I'll just come to that, once we are talking about skill assessment. But for the admission, yeah, so obviously it's a good thing, at least people are, eligible to apply or get this course started with,
Yes.
even with PTE,
Correct.
which is not the
Yeah.
requirement later on, which we'll discuss, all right?
Right.
All right. So like we talk about bachelor's and master's courses, so
Yeah.
is it like the period is the same, 4 years and 2 years?
So the duration, few institute they are offering for 4 years of Bachelor of Social Work, but mostly are offering for 3 years.
Okay.
The 4 years one would be a little bit cheaper
Okay.
in terms of tuition fee, but the 3 years one a little bit expensive, and the requirements are a little bit high in a sense, 6.5 in each band, or
Okay.
yes, 58 in PT each band. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, so, like you're talking about the band score, so I would just like to mention here that even if you get started with less band score, which you said, which is a benefit,
Yeah.
but just remember that when you complete your course, and you're going for the assessment, you would need 7 each, and in IELTS.
Correct.
So whenever you are choosing this course, or deciding upon it, don't
Yeah.
just look at the criteria for admission. Just look at the criteria for getting the assessment, because assessment is the main criteria. After that only you can be, you can apply for the PR pathways. So
Correct.
yes, and
Yeah.
that's why, yes, so people do, if like you said, if they do PT and get 6, 7 each, and go into the course, and later on if they're not able to get that
Yeah.
IELTS score, then obviously they will think that they have wasted some time, and
Correct.
which is not good.
Yes.
So I would always say, try to focus on IELTS, try
Yeah.
to do the IELTS, instead of the PTE, so that gives you confidence, and then once you score higher points, in the very beginning, that relieves
Yeah.
the pressure. So
That's right.
moving on from there, and let's talk about the fee structure. So with, well, like you said, 4 years is cheaper, so can you just a bit more on that, how much do they charge for the masters and bachelors, and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the bachelor degree, you're looking at the cheapest would be 80,000 for 4 years,
Okay.
so 20,000 annually, and it goes actually 100,000 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the university and institute. And for Masters of Social Work, it's a little bit cheaper. I would say you can start from 56,000 to 75,000. Yeah, it depending on which university you're going ahead, or you're going for a private institute. And also Masters of Social Work and Bachelor of Social Work, it's also available in regional area in terms of any state in Australia. Of course, Diljan will talk about the benefits of studying in regional areas, but yes, you can of course choose to go there, and you will get more scholarship if you're choosing a regional area to study.
All right, thanks Bushra, thanks for that information. So obviously that makes it easier for you to decide on your requirements, which course you want to go for, what are the IELTS score, what are the fee structure. And like we said, when you want to get started or enroll into a course, so is there any sort of initial amount which a person must have, so what's that, if you any sort of a range there?
Yeah, so for bachelor, you're looking at around 11,000, the minimum, and the max can go to 18,000 or 19,000 for the first semester fee. And for masters, you're looking at $7,000 to $8,000. Yeah, after the discount I'm talking about, after the scholarship. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bushraji. So that's now when we're talking about the courses, you were saying that it is offered in regional areas as well. So I would like to just put an sort of a focus there that whenever we are talking about social work courses, bachelors and masters, so we should always go and check on the website with the ASA that the courses are accredited
or not.
yes, absolutely. So whenever you are choosing a course, just see that it is accredited with the skill assessing authority, so that there is no problems or issues in the future, in the later stages.
Right, that's correct.
And like we talk about now, moving on to the once you complete the course, so what are the next steps? So obviously the first step once you complete the course is that you apply for TR, subclass 485 if you have not ever held a 485. So that is the next step. So where you get full working rights and you get a visa depending on your course, the length of the visa. Now, while you apply for that visa or you're waiting on that visa to be granted, we are obviously looking at PR pathways. So how to get PR pathways from there on? Yeah, that is the main focus there.
I have one question on this. As the social work at the moment, it's not in extended post-study work, right? List. Does it make any difference if the person is graduating from Masters or Bachelor of Social Work, and after that going for their temporary residency and got temporary residency maybe for 2 years or 3 years, depending on which qualification they're applying for? Does it make any difference in terms of the permanent residency pathway?
No, absolutely not. The difference here is nothing to do with permanent residency pathway. The only thing is, when you have more time in your hand on a visa, it just takes the pressure off.
Correct.
Sometimes there are things that don't work out in life, and you plan something and does not happen that way.
Right.
So the more time you get, it's sort of a cushion,
Correct.
that even if something goes wrong or something, there's something that happens out of your control, you have enough time and not worry about the visa, just focus on your PR pathways.
Right.
So definitely, because when it's not in the extension list, you lose that additional 2 years of time.
Right.
But with social work like nursing, sometimes the 2 years which they provide for bachelors or 3 years for masters is a sufficient amount of time, looking for a PR pathway, because this is a occupation which is in demand.
Right.
People are getting invited. There are high chances that you will be invited pretty soon.
Right.
So it's not like other occupations. So in that sense, the time is obviously it's enough time, 2 to 3 years. But again, there's nothing like having additional 2 years, just in case you need it. So we have seen people, those who have basically applied for TR and got it for like 3 years for masters, but they have got the PR within the first year itself. So they don't even need those years of for TR. But that's again, that is the only difference, that you have additional 2 years. Otherwise, it's nothing to do with PR. So basically, what it means is that when you have limited time, for example, you have 2 years or 3 years on your TR. So we need to get started as soon as we can, without wasting time. Sometimes we have that thinking that, oh, we have we've just completed a course, we've applied for it, we have 3 years of time, we'll just take it easy.
Right.
But that should not be the attitude. So we should basically get started from the day we get a completion letter,
right,
and get started.
Especially with the English requirement, I think.
Absolutely, yes. So when now once you have completed the course, the next step is to get a skill assessment done. which is a basic requirement, before you lodge an EOI, along with other requirements. And for this occupation, like for a social worker, the requirement is that you must have completed an accredited course, which we have just spoken about, and you must have 7 each in IELTS academic, right? So there is no alternative to that English requirement for the skill assessment. That's why I was telling that we should focus on IELTS rather than PTE.
Okay.
Yeah, so PTE should be used as the last option when you want to get the admission, and not miss the deadline, and then that's when you're not getting the score. That is the only thing you should use it for. But I would say IELTS is required, so you should get it done, and I would recommend that while you are doing your course itself, bachelor's or master's, try to get that 7 years score during that study period, because we have seen candidates, those who have completed the course, they are ready with everything, but they are not getting the 7 years score. That is the thing. But again, there's a change, that helps people. So thing is, like, obviously 7 each is required in all the modules, but now they are allowing, if you have taken 2 tests, you can combine 2 tests, but not one take, but 2 combined tests. So it must be within 6 years, 6 months, and every module should be more than 6.5. So basically, if you have less than 6.5, that won't be counted.
That's a big relief then for a lot of international
sometimes
students.
people do miss out on one of them, but that is obviously helpful. So once you have the 7 each criteria, you have IELTS 7 each band, you have your completion letter, you have your course completion letter. Based on that, definitely you can go and apply your skill assessment. Right, and it takes around 4 weeks at the moment to get a skill assessment done.
All right.
And
how long does it take to lodge the skill assessment?
See,
apply for that.
See, because the requirement is basically you have to have your qualification documents and your English results. So if you have these 2 handy, it does not take long. It just it depends on the candidate, when they are providing and how they are providing their documentations. But for us to get it done, it's maybe we can just do it in a couple of days, not more. So lodging is not an issue, but gathering the documentation and providing it in time, that is what we must focus on.
All right. That's nice, because a lot of students come in and ask us about the time frame, because that's crucial from them. And they think of that they don't have the extended post-study work, right?
Absolutely.
That make a very big difference in terms of gaining the English proficiency or not.
Absolutely.
But it has been clear. I think you have spoken well on that. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, some authorities do take long time, like especially with better sys, they take like 20 weeks, and that's why people get worried, because but again, every authority is different. So this one are pretty good with onshore application, especially with Austrian study, because they don't have the requirement of work experience, because that is when it takes time, when the other authorities do tend to verify those work experience and look at documentations. But because there is no experience like nursing, so just based on your qualification and your English score, you get this assessment. Absolutely. So I would say it's a good occupation. But people must be aware that when even in the future, if they are they have done the course, they have got the skill assessment, and they are working in the field, they must be sure that they are not doing community work but doing social work. So there's a sort of a confusion there, but otherwise, yes, it's pretty good occupation. Like I said, straightforward if you can get it done. And like you also mentioned about the regional
areas, correct? Yes.
So with regional, the advantage is obviously, the first advantage is that you get extra 5 points, regional points, because you have completed your studies in regional, but you must be living and studying there. So you can't live in a different sort of a other postcode, which is not in regional, and then go and study there, but you have to be living and working and living and studying there actually to get that 5 points. But again, not only 5 points, the advantage is that what we have seen is that when somebody is studying or finish their studies and still working or living in the regional area while they apply for their expression of interest, so they are preferred candidates, So so even with other occupations, so if you are living there for a period of time and you're still continuing to live there, there's a high chance that you will get an invitation sooner than the candidate who is living in a metropolitan area, So that is not that is not mentioned anywhere, but this is the trend which we are seeing. So even with nursing, recent rounds have happened. We've seen that the nurses, those who have completed their studies in regional and still working in regional, have been invited, while people, those who are in Melbourne, are still waiting. So I would say that if you are happy and you have the option, you should obviously think of going to regional, and taking advantage of those few things that they are providing.
Absolutely, yeah. And they can get more scholarship, to be honest. Regional areas have always been promoted for that. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how about the fee structure in terms of skill assessment moving forward to the permanent residency application?
Yep. See, when we're talking about the fee structure for this pathway, so basically the assessing authorities, they have different charges. We'll have to, obviously, I can't remember on top of my head.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they are charges, I think around $500, 400 something. I'm not sure, but we have to double check that. So whatever the charges are, obviously we have to pay that, and depending on the process, it's sort of we do a complete package, as Aussizz, for the PR pathways. So it depends on what sort of invitation you are receiving. So it varies from 189, 190 and 491. So yeah, I would say that if you can, come to office, if you have any information, we would provide you with, the proper fee structure, and even offer you discounts if applicable.
Absolutely.
And obviously that would be a thing that obviously we would tell the candidates, once you have finished your studies and come to us, contact us, and if you are still looking for admission, do contact our education team, and they will help you with the process.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the invitation rounds, also the points calculation, because that's the most crucial part the student wants to know, how much points we need to accumulate at the end of our graduation to apply for the skill assessment or going forward to the PR pathway. Yes.
All right, see, now when we are talking about PR pathways, like I was talking about, the minimum requirements for lodging or submitting an expression of interest is that you must have a positive skill assessment. You must have minimum of 6 each. But if you're talking about social work, you would have 7 each, because you require that for assessment. Right. So you are getting 10 points for that.
Yeah.
But if you want to claim extra points for English, you can do PTE while claiming points for for general skill migration. So so if suppose somebody has done 7 each and got the assessment, and they want to do PTE and get 8 each and get 10 points, that's a very good thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then obviously the other point is you must have 65 points minimum if your points are given to you based on your age, qualification, other factors.
Right.
But the good thing about social work, like nursing and other medical health occupations, are that you get invited at minimum points.
Okay.
So even if somebody is at 65 points by itself, then obviously there are high chances that the candidate will be invited. Okay. And we have seen in recent round that people, especially in social work, if you're talking about, have been invited at 65, 70 points. Okay. So yeah, so basically you are just meeting the bare minimum, and you still stand a high chance, But again, if somebody has done the IELTS, got 80 or something, so that's obviously a very advantageous position. But I would say 65 points by itself, or even if you have 60 and the state gives you 5 points for 190, sometimes that is more than sufficient in this occupation.
Okay. In terms of the invitation round, where do you think, which state is having more invitation for social worker in Australia?
See, now basically this sort of occupations are in demand in all the states. Okay. Right. So there is, we would say that it just depends on where you are at that moment, because every state has its own requirements. Right. So it's not about just the occupation which is in demand in the state. So it's demand. Everyone needs health professionals and social workers because of the stress factor that is coming into play in this modern lives. Right. Yeah. But as long as you are in a state, and you meet the requirement of the state, because most of the states would want you to live there for a certain period of time. They would want you to have an experience in your field for a certain amount, amount of time. So if you meet those requirements, obviously that's a good thing. But if you don't meet the requirements of that state at that particular time, but you still want to apply, and then obviously at that time you can think of moving to other states. Right. So in that sense, if you're in any other state, and in that situation where you don't meet the criteria for that particular state, you can come to Victoria. Okay. So Victoria, the advantage is that Victoria is, they don't have a requirement of you staying in Victoria for a certain amount of, a certain number of months or years. Okay. And they don't want you, or they don't require you to be, working in your own field at that time. So basically, if you move into Victoria, a day before, and then you apply 190 for Victoria, you are eligible. All right. Yeah, but you must be having a skill level job, 1 to 3, so it can be in any field. So that is the advantage. But if you are in any state, and you meet the requirements of the state, I would say that social work is a good occupation. Just stay there and just wait, because the number of seats are very less this year. Yes. So we have to be patient.
Right. So it was nice talking to you, Diljan. Lots of information. I also got to know a lot of things as an education counselor. That was very beneficial. I hope everyone enjoyed our session. Diljan, if you want to add something.
Yeah, that's what we are talking about. See, everyone, we are here to help you with your migration journey, in your migration journey, from getting a student visa to applying a PR and citizenship. So if you have any sort of queries or you want any sort of help, regarding this during this journey, you are welcome to visit our branch at Collins Street. We have
Yes.
branches in all over in Australia, so you can visit your nearest branch. But if you are in Melbourne, you can obviously come to our Collins Street branch. My name is Diljan, and I'm a agent, migration agent at this branch, along with my friends here. And obviously, you can obviously give us a call, book a Zoom meeting. Any sort of help, we are there to help you. And stay tuned. We'll be back next Thursday with a new course and new information. Till then, have a great time.